You see the way she dresses, the way he smiles at her, maybe the vacations they've taken, and suddenly your mind is full of one thought: she's better than me. You know it's not helpful, but the feeling is so quick, so sharp. It's like you're already behind in a competition you never signed up for. Well, today we're going to break down why comparison is a trap, and more importantly, how you can walk out of it without losing yourself. Assalamu alaikum, peace. I'm Coach Nyla, and this is the Progress Over Perfection and Polygyny podcast. I'm a wife in polygyny, a relationship coach, and a woman who has been caught in an endless loop of measuring myself against someone else's highlights. This podcast is where we get real about the emotion nobody likes to admit and find practical, faith-aligned ways to move forward and move through them. Look, I'm not here to pretend this journey is all full of sunshine, roses, kittens, and unicorns. You know what I say. I'm here to actually give you the tools to navigate the storms with your dignity, your confidence, and peace intact. Today, we're talking about the comparison trap and the 3 shifts that can free you from it for good. Now, comparison and polygyny is like an open tab in your mind. It drains your energy, even when you're not actively thinking about it. You might be making dinner, driving home, or even trying to have a moment of intimacy with your husband, and suddenly that tab opens. Is this enough? Is this as good as what he has over there? Oh my gosh, I swear. I know this firsthand. And of course, I've coached a number of people through it, but here's the truth. It's not about your co-wife. It's not even about your husband. It's about how you see yourself. And by the end of this episode, you have 3 practical shifts that you can start using today to stop comparing and start growing. Let me give you some insight on my personal journey with the comparison trap. I mean, I have a lot of them, my gosh, and it'd be way too much. It'll be the season plus some. So I'm going to give you a few of them in this episode. I remember a time early on when my husband mentioned my co-wife's hair. He called it luxurious. He was telling a sweet story about how he mistook her for their son, my bonus son, sleeping on the couch. And so he talked about how his hair was luxurious, but he thought it was my co-wife. So that's how the story kind of went. So, of course, my brain goes, in my head, I'm hearing, your hair is not luxurious. He likes hers more. Now, he never said that. He didn't say that at all. He was telling a story about how he thought that their son was her and just was talking about how he has this luxurious hair, but he actually, anyway, I can explain it all day long. It still was my thoughts comparing that didn't need to compare, okay? So he never said that. So my insecure mind just decided to compare it with whatever he would say about my hair. And he never called it luxurious. I'll just say that. And sometimes he joked about it, but he never called it luxurious. So, of course, my brain is like, oh, my hair is not luxurious, or he doesn't like my hair. I don't have hair like hers. He likes hers, and she and her hair look better than me. It was just a bunch of unnecessary garbage, Not saying that hair is, not luxurious or anything like that. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying the thoughts that we have in our head, the comparison, is so crazy, and we don't need to do that. We do that to ourselves, and sometimes we do it to ourselves so much that we actually put it on the other person, like that they are doing it to us. It's crazy. So I felt the sting of comparison on so many occasions, whether it be when our households look different, which is pretty much all the time because none of our houses ever look the same. When people in the comments actually compare us. I'll never forget, there was this commenter who said, I can see how those who are into covered girls find her more attractive. And they were referring to my co-wife. Like they put that at like in our comments, like in our video or under our video. Sometimes people want to start drama. Sometimes people just get a kick out of comparing. Even if we're not comparing ourselves, you have other people comparing you all day long. I had a a woman who I used to watch, that she does belly dance and things like that, and she teaches belly dance. And she did a short with her and a friend of hers that they were just enjoying themselves, and she let them have it in the comments because someone made a comment about that and just compared them. It's like, it's me and my friend having a good time together. Why can't two women have a good time together or be together without someone trying to compare them? So even if we're not comparing ourselves, other people are comparing us. However, even if that's the case, let me tell you how. And I'm, like I said, stay tuned and stick with me because I'll tell you how to shift your mind to get out of the comparison trap when you're doing it to yourself and even when others are doing it. Again, comparing myself and all these unnecessary things, those moments that happened, it had me spiraling into me critiquing my appearance, my schedule, my personality. And by the end of it all, it wasn't that I was upset with her, with my co-wife, or with my husband, or with the people in the comments or anybody. I was more upset with me. And that's the trap. It starts with your co-wife. And she doesn't even know. Like, she doesn't even know that it starts with her. It's not even, it's no one's fault. It's no one's fault but your own by comparing herself with someone else. But she could be oblivious to it. But it always ends with you feeling less. So let me give you 3 mind shifts so you can end comparison. And inshallah, God willing, this helps. We're going to get into the heart of the matter because it's not just tips. These are fundamental shifts in the way you approach your life and your relationships. There are 3 mind shifts you need to leave comparison behind. Number 1, see her as a mate, not as a rival to debate. The first shift is to actually change your perspective. Every woman has her own strengths, her own weaknesses, and her own unique journey. So seeing your co-wife as competition only feeds your insecurity. Instead of seeing her as a rival, see her as a fellow sister who is also on her own journey. You can admire something about her, her strength, her resilience, her sense of style, without making it mean that you are lacking in any way. We don't go, we don't grow by tearing another woman down, even if it's just in our heads. We grow by becoming more aware of our own gifts. Instead of competing, treat her presence as a reminder that every woman has her own lane and yours is worth nurturing. Be classy, not nasty. And remember this phrase, her shine does not dim mine. All right? Put that in your notes. Her shine does not dim mine. I remember talking to a client who saw pictures of her co-wife's children. They were beautifully dressed and they were enjoying themselves at a birthday party that I believe that her co-wife planned. And she stated that a voice in her head immediately said, "You've never done that for your kids. You know, you're not as thoughtful. You're not as thoughtful as your co-wife. You're not as thoughtful as she is." She said she felt that her simple, low-key celebrations weren't enough, that the things that she'd done for her children, they weren't enough because of pictures that she's seen with her co-wife's children or her bonus children, and how they were enjoying themselves at a party that her co-wife planned. But then I let her know that she had to stop and recenter herself. I asked her about her own children and if they felt unloved and that she was lacking in any way that she cared for them. She thought about it and she thought about how her home is filled with warmth and spontaneous moments of joy, not just perfectly planned events. And I'm not saying that that's how her co-wife operates all the time, but sometimes we'll see a snippet, we'll see the highlights, and we just think that that's just what it is. So she had to realize that her strength wasn't in this planning of, elaborate party themes, but in creating a safe, loving, and peaceful space where her children felt cherished just as they were. And that was okay. That was beautiful. That was amazing. She didn't have to compare herself with her co-wife. Her ability to create a beautiful party didn't make her loving home any less valuable. That's when she fully understood that they're not here to be rivals and mothering, but to each bring their unique, valuable gifts to the family. I helped her understand that her co-wife's light does not dim hers. It's just simply a different kind of glow. Here's an actionable step that I gave her and I'm going to give to you. Right now, I would like for you to identify 3 personal strengths you already bring into your marriage and to your family. Maybe you're a great listener. You can make a comfortable and peaceful home, or you're a powerful motivator. Write them down and celebrate them. Make sure you celebrate them. That's the one thing that we forget to do. And that's what causes a lot of insecurity and comparison. And anytime comparison creeps in, replace the thought with gratitude. I'm blessed with, and whatever it is you feel you're blessed with. And commit to investing your energy into sharpening your own character, not debating hers. Let's get into mind shift number 2. Focus more on the core and less on the score. The second shift is about redirecting your energy. The scoreboard of who got the attention is a distraction. True growth comes from strengthening your core, your faith, your character, as well as your habits. So many women in polygyny are obsessed with counting points. He took her on vacation, so now he owes me one. Or he left at this particular time, and so he needs to make sure that he makes up this time. He's going to do what he needs to do. Your husband is going to do what he needs to do. And if he doesn't, he's going to be held accountable for it. So you don't have to be all down his throat about it. However, reminders are okay, but you have to be careful of what that looks like. Because it could be, oh, she got a new dress, so I need to get one too. Or she has this purse and I got to get this. Or they went there, so let me go there too. It's like a tit for tat type of game that no one wins. It's very petty and it can be stressful. So again, as I said, this is a game you can't win because the rules are constantly changing and you are not in control of them. But here's what you can control: your input, your habits, your self-care, your communication, your energy. I remember a time when my husband made a comment about never catching up with my co-wife. I let that comment spiral and I didn't even ask for clarity. Not at the time, I didn't. All I saw was that she will always be better than me in his eyes. She was his high school sweetheart, and I heard that on a number of occasions because even when we do, whether it's videos or in books that we've written or anything like that, it's what it is. They've known each other since they were 14 years old. They went to high school together. He saw her, wanted to marry her. It was those things. So I would compare the story. I would compare what he's seen. I compare what they've experienced with what we've experienced. And truth be told, I was never going to catch up. I will never catch up because the timeline is different. So, but that's how what I saw. I saw that I would never, I would just never be this wonderful wife, or I would never. She will always be better in his eyes. That's what I saw. I started picking apart my appearance in the mirror, questioning my value in his life, in our marriage, wondering what he really thought of me. What he saw in me, and that was a thing even earlier in the marriage because I'm like, okay, you have this wonderful wife. Why me? You have this wonderful wife. Why, get married to me? These type of things. And um, it definitely messes with your self-esteem and your insecurities when you're not gaining clarity. And I'm gonna get into that in a minute, but when you're not gaining clarity and when you're looking at people being better than you, when you are comparing yourself with other people and their highlights instead of making yourself your biggest competition. I say that I've learned how to do that and I teach on that because you're going to always improve. If you're making yourself your biggest competition or you're comparing yourself with the person who you was the day before, that is going to help you grow, not comparing yourself to someone else. So later I had a discussion with him about it and asked for clarity. And he told me what was logical and obvious, that he was talking about our timeline. So he wanted me to stop comparing myself, because there are some things that cannot be changed. And one of those things is the timeline in which we were married, in which we are married. So that's the interesting thing. People can say this. People say, well, he shouldn't have said it like that, or he could have said it better, or those different things. People are going, see, the interesting thing is we have to be careful with expecting people to do things the way we want them to do them, because to me that starts to put control on the other person. Like, I'm controlling how this person behaves. I'm controlling how this person changes if I want them to change. Instead of looking at that as a growing moment and being able to say, you know what, I'm glad that I asked for clarity, because now that helped me to understand what he meant, and also to appreciate him for being who he is. And he is a straightforward person. He didn't have to beat around the bush for me. And I appreciate that. And I can be as sensitive as I want to be, but I can take it. I'm grown. And when it all comes down to it, it wasn't that he was dissing me. It wasn't that he was saying anything bad. He was saying something that was actually true. Timeline, I would never be. We would never have the same timeline. I came over a decade later, 15 years to be exact, and that was after they got married, not after they've known each other. They've known each other since they were 14. So trying to compare that and what they've been through and those different things like that it's not beneficial. That's not a beneficial thing. So I had to learn how to communicate better, how to look at myself and, my strengths and, what I bring to the family, what I bring, to our marriage, what I bring to my life, as well as his life, as well as the family dynamic, and celebrate and enjoy that. So how did I do that? I decided that I really needed to focus on my core. And I needed to get out of the comparison trap, because it was not serving me at all. I sang some karaoke to clear my head, put on a podcast about inner strength, and I listen to many different podcasts. I stay in personal development, because if I don't, I would be right back there in the comparison trap, or, just losing myself, because I'm not reminding myself of the greatness that is within me, and I'm not continuing to grow. I tell my clients, I would tell you, there's no being stagnant. There's no staying still. You're either growing or you're dying. So if you're not in your personal development, if you're not giving yourself these affirmations and doing things that are beneficial to you, you are going to go in a different direction. And that different direction is going to be like worse than where you are. It's going to go downward, not upward. Weeds don't need help to grow. So, but in order to have a beautiful garden, you need to take care of it, and you need to be intentional with it. So that's what I did. I spent some time journaling about my own progress. I wrote about the things I was proud of that day. My patience with the difficult conversation, because as sensitive as I am, I like to avoid drama and difficult conversations, but that wasn't serving me at all either. And I was enjoying the progress that I was making on my personal goals and the peace I was cultivating in my own spirit. I realized that my value wasn't a score to be tallied in compliments. It was in the person that I was becoming. Now, their life before my arrival in his life shouldn't have impacted the internal growth that I was nourishing, and it didn't. This shift from focusing on the score to nurturing my core was the most empowering decision I've ever made. So, the actionable step that I had to make, and I'm going to give you this as well: make a short daily ritual that builds you. When you feel tempted to count what she received, ask instead, how did I grow today? Redefine success as showing up in alignment with your values, not chasing outcomes. Your progress is personal, and it's not a competition with anyone else. Let's get into our last mind shift. Mind shift 3. Stop using her as a reflection and start paving your individual direction. The final shift is to embrace your own path. Another wife is not your measuring stick. Her path is hers. Your worth is not tied to her reflection. Growth happens when you stop comparing and start creating. You don't need her qualities to be whole. You need to nurture your own. And I say that you need to nurture your own because I had to learn that myself. I had to stop holding my co-wife up as a mirror to measure my worth. So I'm asking you to do the same. Instead, use that energy as a window to see new possibilities for yourself. Maybe she's an amazing cook and that inspires you to take a cooking class. Maybe her sense of style makes you want to explore your own fashion. It's okay to be inspired by one another. We allow ourselves to do that with our friends. So why do we make it so hard to do with the person who's supposed to be a part of our family? Look, I know this may not sit well with some of you because of past trauma or conditioning, and we'll get more into that in future episodes about not allowing what society says co-wives or how co-wives should act dictate how you are with your co-wife and that family dynamic. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. My co-wife is an incredibly organized person, and she's very creative. She's an artist. Now, the kids enjoy being at her home. She creates fun treats for them. Like she does this popcorn thing where she put like little gummies and things like that they love. And she makes some other type of popcorn that is just amazing. They're delicious. I love it. I had to ask her for some of it because she had to make me some, but I'm just saying. But there was a time when I was comparing the setup of her home, the fun treats, art projects that she's made with and for the kids. And I was telling myself, I don't do that, and I was losing myself, focusing on what she does in comparison to what I do. And I had to step back and admit that her path wasn't my path. We don't even have like the same like makeup of how our lives are. Her children now are my bonus babies. The majority of them are adults. And then I have little ones still, so I mean, we work together. However, our journey is different. Our lifestyle is different. We're not in the same space. We're not in the same place in our lives. So I really had to focus on what I liked and enjoyed about me. Instead of holding her up as a mirror to reflect my supposed flaws, I was able to see her as a window to see new possibilities for myself. I still wanted to be more structured, organized, and back in my creative space because I used to dance and write poetry and different things like that. And I can't draw. I cannot draw, but I can create. So, but she can do those things. She is a amazing artist. And I just realized that I'm an artist in a different sense. So I had to decide to create my own system that actually worked for my personality and lifestyle, a more flexible, intuitive approach. When I stopped comparing my direction to hers and started paving my own, I found a sense of peace and confidence that was truly my own. I realized I wasn't a carbon copy. I was an original, and that's fine. Like, I remember, I think something my mom said to me earlier in my marriage was a thing that kind of stayed with me. And I had to realize, like what I just said, I wasn't a carbon copy, I was an original. Because my mom asked me a question. She was like, do you think that he married you because you are a younger version of his current wife? And we are not that much, I'm not that much younger than her. We don't have that big, huge age gap. I'm only 4 years younger than her. So it's not that big of an age gap. However, that didn't sit too well with me. It really bothered me. Like, okay, so a person can't be with me or marry me for who I am, but because I have, something that reminds him of his other wife. So that was a thing that I had to get away from the comparison, especially when there are times when people say, oh, you guys look alike, or oh, he has a type, and these different things like that. Now, sometimes people don't like that. Some people we've had people in the comments like, no, she looks like this and she looks like that. My thing is, I embrace whatever it is, whether it's a strong cousin, similarities or anything like that, or maybe because our complexion is similar, whatever it is, we like beautiful things. I can embrace that without it seeming as though that I have to be a carbon copy of someone else or others think that that's what is going on. So, actionable steps, something that I had to take that I'm going to give to you. Make yourself a growth list. List 3 areas where you want to improve for yourself, not in response to anyone else. Celebrate your small wins weekly and note what you did that aligned with your goals, no matter how simple. And make sure you create a vision statement for your direction. Something on the lines of, I am becoming a woman who, whatever it is you want to put there. And review it every single day. Review it daily. Don't get on yourself if you don't review it every day, but review it as much as you possibly can so you can keep that in the forefront of your mind. This week, I want to give you a challenge and another action step. I gave you 3 in here, but I'm going to give you a challenge and a main action step. Every time you catch yourself comparing, I want you to immediately write down one thing you do like about yourself in that same category. If you think her style is better, write down, I'm creative with my colors, or something on the lines of that. You don't have to write down, I'm creative with my colors. Write down what it is in that category. If you think she's more confident, write down something on the lines of, I'm consistent in showing care for my family. This simple act retrains your brain to balance the scale instead of tipping it against you. Comparison will always be an option, but so will growth. And I promise you, growth will always feel better. If you want to work with me to strengthen your confidence, communication, and peace in polygyny, make sure you visit CoachNyla.com so you can learn more about my coaching programs and how we can work together. Next week, we're talking about not just the title, seeing yourself beyond second wife. Now, this episode is specifically for, not that only second wives have to watch this, but I'm going to be talking directly to my second wives, additional wives out there. But I do believe that all wives can learn from this episode. So whether you have worn that title with pride, shame, or resistance, the conversation I'm going to have in this podcast will help you as a second wife, an incoming wife, an additional wife, define yourself on your own terms. Until then, make sure you are focusing less on your co-wife's reflection and more on your own direction. Until then, focus less on your co-wife's reflection and more on your own direction. And I will see you next week. It's Coach Nyla. Assalamu alaikum.